Hello and welcome to the Communicators. Over the last few weeks, we've shown you interviews with leaders who attended this year's cable show sponsored by the National Cable and Telecommunications Association. This week, we focus on the leaders behind the technology used by cable and satellite operators. Up first, YVETTE KANOUFF of SeaChange International. We spoke to her about the future of video on demand and how advertising fits into that future.
The Communicators is here at the National Cable Television Association annual show in Washington, D.C. And one of the issues that we wanted to talk about on the Communicators are the technology issues. Joining us now is YVETTE KANOUFF. She is the Chief Strategy Officer for SeaChange International. Ms. KANOUFF, two things. What is SeaChange International and what does a Chief Strategy Officer do?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. So as a Chief Strategy Officer, what I do is look at what people will want to be doing in the future, and then how can we build the technology to enable that, what technology trends are out there, how can we get the best performance and build the best products to make everybody happy several years down the road. And as far as what SeaChange does, most of the advertisements that you see that are locally inserted in your television programming come off of SeaChange equipment. We deliver most of the video on demand streams that exist in the world today, and so we are heavily involved in building the technology for personal television.
So how do you do your research to find out what technology people want to use or what people want to view?
There are so many ways to do that, so that's a tough question to answer because there's not one source to give you all of those answers, right? Some of it is viewing trends, some of it is age-based trends, some of it is just technology trends and what technology exists for things that we can do. The addition of multiple devices, things like mobile devices and how that changes television, PCs of course, though there's a lot of programming on TV today, and then how can that be made better? How can that be automated? What can we do with those that unification? For example, how can I be watching something on my mobile device and then say, okay, I'd like to pause, I'm finished now, I'm moving into my house, pick it up on my HD set in HD, you know, things of that nature. So it's always about sharing, community, video trends.
So where is the money made on video on demand? Who pays for it?
Well, I think that there's no single answer to that either. So to start with, it was thought that video on demand would be watch a movie when you want to and pay for that movie. So it would be on a pay-per-view, in which case the movie would be split between the operator and the studio that delivers that particular piece of content. And then it changed to subscription-based, where the subscriber pays a monthly fee, and then that goes to maybe an HBO or a subscription type of service provider, and again split with the operator. And then and then more recently, the biggest trend has been to offer free content on demand. So for example, a content provider would have a linear channel, and then on top of that they'd be able to offer their content on demand. And there's been a great stickiness in that, where the customers stay very happy with the cable service because they can watch thousands of programs on demand. They want to now stick with that cable subscriber as opposed to going to the competition. And that churn reduction has a real financial value.
What do you mean churn reduction?
That the customers don't leave and go to a different provider. So that's always the big concern in the industry, right? Is that there are so many types of services out there that consumers might want to go somewhere else. So the key is, how do we offer the value to make sure those customers are happy? And by offering thousands of programs free on demand, customers get to see what they want and they want to stay. And so it's not about forcing customers to stay, it's about wanting customers to stay. And so video on demand has really helped make that happen.
You mentioned that SeaChange is also involved in the insertion of ads.
Yes.
How do you do that and what's your role?
Well, traditionally, advertising has been inserted in linear channels. So in your local area, if you're watching a particular television broadcast channel, you might see the local car dealer ad come up during your program. That would sit on a SeaChange video server, and when a certain tone comes to say it's now time for an ad, we insert the advertisement that's local into that linear program. And of course that whole environment's changing to on-demand ads, to more ad relevancy, and a lot of discussion on the advertising side, because advertising has changed so very much. So that's the traditional answer, with many, many changes coming up.
YVETTE KANOUFF, have we reached the point where if a consumer pops up a VOD movie, that you can track that and then tailor an ad to that person?
Yes, yes. As
Is
a
that
matter of
common?
fact, well, I think that it's everything goes in stages. Today, it might be at the beginning or end of the program, really taking, one of the big trends we're seeing now is time shifting and place shifting. So if there are two takeaways, I'd say, as to what's happening in the industry, it'd be time shifting and place shifting, taking your content with you and shifting the time to watch it whenever I want to watch it, which is what you call on demand, right? But it's not just on demand as in a separate piece of content. It can be the television show from 8 o'clock on Thursday evening because I wasn't home then. So there's a lot of ads inserted there. So the key is, should they be changed, should they not be changed, and should they be made to be more relevant? And I think that there's been such an overwhelming placement of advertising in front of consumers that consumers are saying, I'd rather maybe just fast forward through the ads. So yesterday we had a panel on how to embrace those things, embrace customer behavior. Don't say, well, you can't fast forward. And so we're doing a lot of things to try to make ads relevant to the customer, as you're saying, so that they would like to watch them or watch them on their own terms. Everything needs to be done on the customer's terms, and that's technically what we're enabling.
What about the data mining concerns? Congress is always concerned about that. The FCC has been concerned about that. What's your response to regulators who might be concerned about that?
Well, I think the regulators are concerned about privacy issues. So what we don't want to have is private information about you and your viewing be out there for sale or for use by various parties. So we're very careful to make sure that that doesn't happen. Anything that goes outside of something that creates a relevant viewing experience for you has to go in aggregate, meaning that your information can't be out there for public use. And so that is it's a valid concern. I think it's for the protection of the people, and I think that we can all understand that. So technically we do have to be very careful to say, I don't mind creating relevance for you, but I'm not going to give information about you to the public.
And a consumer who may be watching this show will say, well, I don't want SeaChange to know about my viewing habits.
Well, I think it's difficult when you're in the middle of the billing cycle to say, I don't know what you watched, because you have to be billed for it. So I think that you do have to have some reasonable to it. So if you're creating a billing database and you're sending bills to the customers, you have to know what they bought to bill. The question is, we as SeaChange aren't allowed to use that data or give that data to anyone, and we can't. It's not our information to give.
And finally, YVETTE KANOUFF, how is it that your background with a bachelor's and master's in mathematics helps you in your current job?
Well, it's funny, I started my career doing pattern recognition algorithms and a lot of heavy mathematics with digital signal processing. And then I found out that the cable industry is trying to push some video through these fiber optic cables, which is all mathematics. And so I thought, well, I might be able to help over there. And so now everything is digital compression, how you can take video and become all digital. So all of the trends that you're reading about, it's all math underneath that. So it's what I love.
Chief Strategy Officer of SeaChange International, YVETTE KANOUFF. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've heard of Wi-Fi, but a company called Clearwire is setting up WiMAX sites in cities across the United States. WiMAX offers wireless services, but over greater distances.
Joining us now on the Communicators is ATISH GUDE. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for Clearwire. Mr. GUDE, thanks for being on the Communicators. And tell us, what is Clearwire?
Clearwire is next generation mobile broadband business. We are launching a nationwide mobile broadband network. It is based on a WiMAX technology, and our real business is about taking broadband for customers anywhere, anytime, same content on any device that they want.
What is WiMAX?
WiMAX is a fourth generation technology. People are very familiar with 3G. WiMAX is widely known as fourth generation technology, but more importantly than being just a technology, it's a vehicle to carry cable or faster cable DSL type speeds in a wireless form. So Our real business is about connecting large-scale consumer electronic devices, starting with the PCs, to broadband, to the internet, in a wireless fashion.
How would a homeowner use this in his home?
Well, you know, we have a wonderful partnership with the cable companies, Comcast, Time Warner, and Bright House. And our belief is that consumers are going to buy two ways. First, they're going to go and buy WiMAX capability, wireless broadband for existing devices like PCs, and soon a new category of PCs called netbooks, and a new category after that called mids. But we also believe that people will want to put it onto their home subscription. People get broadband at home today. They want to take that same service, add it to their bundle, and be able to carry the same content they do on the road.
So if somebody already has a home network, what's the value added in purchasing a Clearwire product?
Really, it's seamless content and seamless experience. The internet access, internet connectivity is so pervasive in our lives today that it is not just about entertainment, it's not just about communication, it's really a way of life, how we get information, how we consume information. To be able to take that same information and that same experience that you enjoy at home, to take it with you on the road, and then diversify it across any consumer electronic device you want, whether it is the importance of the internet to a digital camera, or the importance of video to a portable DVD player in the future. We think this is the real value proposition of mobile internet. It's an extension of the experience you have off of wireline.
For Clearwire, who would the competitors be? Verizon, Sprint?
Ideally, I'd like to say we're in a position that nobody can occupy today, but essentially in the minds of
Because
the
of the
consumer,
speed?
It is because of the bandwidth that we have to really deliver true broadband type of capabilities on the road. You need a very large amount of spectrum to deliver a very fat pipe to deliver that many bits. And it is all about broadband is all about the customer experience. So we think we're in a unique position. But in the mind of the customer today, it is going to be the traditional phone companies and their 3G services, because they have gotten to a point where they're trying to convince consumers that 3G is broadband. Well, we all know that you can do a lot more with more speed, more bandwidth, and a consistent experience, and that's what Clearwire can do.
What is the trend currently for WiMAX as opposed to broadband, wired broadband?
I think the vision of where we believe that this industry gets to, it is broadband is not just about a PC, and broadband is not just about a phone screen. The broadband is really about enabling any and every consumer electronic device that you can imagine. And it's not just about consumer electronic devices, it's about parking meters, it's about surveillance systems, it's about any electronic device that is out there that can use internet connectivity to move high bandwidth applications. So this is where we believe the future is. We have a great partner in Intel and the Intel chipsets that are being diversified across a large-scale consumer electronic devices. Wherever Wi-Fi has gone, imagine WiMAX going there. Wi-Fi is a very small range, hotspot type of technology. Now imagine a hotspot the entire size of a city, or even bigger than that. Having mobile connectivity anywhere where you go and on any device. We think there's a tremendous value proposition there.
When will Clearwire be rolled out, and where are you testing it?
We're already rolled out in Portland, Oregon. We're already rolled out in Baltimore, Maryland. We're rolling out in Las Vegas and Atlanta this summer, and then by the end of this year we will be in many more cities, and we will be in vast majority of the major U.S. markets by the end of 2010.
Why did you choose the cities you did for the test?
Well, the tests we chose because they're very isolated cities. They don't roll into major markets. So from a deployment perspective, a marketing perspective, and getting a real feel of how customers use it in and across a greater metropolitan area, we thought these cities were very ideal for us. But as you roll into larger markets like Chicago and Philadelphia and the Northeast Corridor and Los Angeles and San Francisco, these are very, very large cities that we will get there in the next 2 years. And we think that the value proposition is tremendous as we increase the number of devices that have WiMAX in it and expand the size of the network.
Well, Mr. GUDE, given the current economic situation in the States, how do you market a value-added or a more expensive product?
Well, relative to 3G, our price point, our price value equation is much better than 3G. So we have pricing in the marketplace today that is much more affordable than what you would get for 3G. 3G today, 3G wireless air cards are $60 and a 2-year subscription. We're much more affordable than that. You can find our plans from $30, $40, $45. In this economic environment, I think having the right price value equation is absolutely what customers are looking for, and our technology is able to do that.
So if somebody buys your product in Atlanta right now, they can only use it in Atlanta or Portland or Vegas or Baltimore right now, correct?
They can use it in only the cities that we have launched, but we are absolutely growing our footprint. The moment we launch, our product set is not going to be it's not going to be targeted to every single customer. Customers who are who need to be in large numbers of cities, they may not buy it right away, but they will certainly buy it as the cities continue to roll out. And but remember, our value proposition is also based on speed and throughput and the consistency of throughput and the things you can do with that throughput. You can watch video, real video, on your laptop. Not something that 3G gives you, which is all fractured and the experience is all interrupted because of the network bandwidth is not there. You can watch real video, high quality video on your laptop. We think those are the kind of applications that customers really will like about the bandwidth speeds that we give.
Why are the cable companies investing in wireless technology?
It's really about giving a broader customer experience to the content and services that the cable companies already give. Cable companies give voice at home, video at home, and data at home. Now to be able to take that value proposition and say we can give you that same content and that same experience on the road, and by the way, we can give it to you on a large number of devices that you yourself choose. So I think that is the real experience. We all believe that the opportunity to enrich customers' lives is where we want to go. The cable companies have done a wonderful job within the home, and we think that partnering with us, they could do a wonderful job on taking that seamless service on the road.
ATISH GUDE is the Chief Marketing Officer for Clearwire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Viewers of cable and satellite have a variety of tools and services they can use as they watch TV. And one of the people we spoke with during the cable show was Jim CHIDDIX with a company known as Open TV. He spoke about the future of that type of technology and what's going to be available in set-top boxes.
Well, joining us now is Jim CHIDDIX, who is Vice Chairman of Open TV. Mr. CHIDDIX, if you could start by giving us a little bit of your background, educate our viewers, a little bit about your background in the media world, and tell us about Open TV.
Well, I grew up in the cable business from back in the days when it was country television, and I'm an engineer, so been sort of grew up with the technology of the business, and as part of all that, as it changed over the years, been a great place to be. Wound up as chief engineer at Time Warner, or Time Warner Cable, and then ran Open TV, which is a software company, for 3 years. Remained on their board and on some other boards as well, and still involved with the industry after all these years.
Well, tell us about Open TV. What is that?
Open TV builds operating software and applications for set-top boxes. The largest company of its kind in the world, provides software to many cable and satellite companies around the world, including EchoStar, and it provides advertising infrastructure as well for many of the US MSOs.
And what is the software specifically that you put into the set-top boxes?
It is the operating system. It's analogous to Windows, so it's the platform that other things like the Guide and advertising applications, games, shopping, and so forth ride on top of. And its primary value to operators historically has been to let them buy boxes from a variety of manufacturers and have them all look the same, which helps them control their biggest single capital expenditure.
How has that technology changed over the past decade?
It continually evolves.
Continually.
Yes, and it, in some ways, it's been a technology with a lot of promise for interactivity. Interactivity as a business has been elusive. So OpenTV's built a good, profitable business out of this software platform. The breakout application for software, though, is going to be interactive advertising.
Who would go to interactive advertising?
Well, every cable operator, every satellite operator wants to go.
But as a consumer, why would I purposefully go to interact with an ad?
It helps you get what you want. If you're watching an ad and you can click a key on your remote and get more information, get merchandise.
Much like you can do on an internet site.
Exactly.
And are we there yet?
We're not there yet. It's still ahead of us, tremendous potential, and I think that there's more focus than ever on getting to a pot of gold there.
Well, Jim CHIDDIX, you've been involved, as you said, in the engineering side of cable television and communications for a long time. If you think of the TV being invented in 1947 or 1939, but then coming online in 1947 or so, where are we when it comes to broadband and the communications world now, as opposed to, or compared to where the TV is? What year would you say it is?
Well, it's hard to draw that parallel, but we're still at an early stage. And I think that what's going on with much higher speed internet connections is indicative of what can come. Television had a couple big inflection points: color television, the video tape recorder, and now high definition television. The internet went from dial-up through always-on DSL cable modems, and now many companies are beginning to offer much higher speeds. I'm on the board at Virgin Media in the UK. They're rolling out 50 megabit per second internet across their entire footprint.
And what's it here in the States? What's the average?
Comcast and other companies are beginning to roll out this kind of speed as well. But it really changes things, especially for video on the internet, because video is going to high definition everywhere. It's cheap to shoot, but it takes up a lot of bandwidth. So as high definition video goes to the internet, much higher speeds are going to be critical and very useful to consumers. Cable's got a huge advantage in that it can offer those speeds, and almost none of its competitors can.
Have you seen, because of the economic situation in the world today, a downturn in business or less investment in future products?
Not really. I'm on the board of 4 different companies that are all around the cable space. And there's been an impact, but it's been far less than any other business I can think of. People still want their television. They still want their internet. It's a good bargain in terms of value for money, and I think it's proving to be what we always thought it was, which is a very recession-resistant business.
Now, are there any regulatory concerns that you address at OpenTV or that your customers address, such as privacy or data mining?
Well, OpenTV is a very specialized software company, but for cable companies in general, including Virgin Media, there are lots of regulatory issues, certainly around privacy. All of the technical tools exist now to do everything that was described in the book 1984. And governments have a legitimate concern about how those tools are going to be used. So I think that cable companies in particular that have this kind of two-way connection are very sensitive to that.
What about Virgin Media is out of England? So what about the British government? Are they more regulating than perhaps the U.S. government?
It's slightly different, but the themes are the same, and certainly privacy is a concern, and issues about the openness of the internet are certainly discussed with government, public policy bodies. So a lot of things going on here we're seeing there and vice versa.
Final question, are regulations keeping up with the changing technology?
Regulations never keep up with technology. Technology moves way too quickly. But nevertheless, cable is an industry, I think John Malone once observed, that it's an industry that lives at the intersection of technology and politics. So it's an industry that has always got to recognize the fact that it's using public rights of way, it's subject to regulation, it's got to act responsibly. But I think the industry's figured out a good way to make that marriage work.
Jim CHIDDIX of Open TV, thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, Dan Moloney is with Motorola, specifically a division of the company which is using technology that would allow homes with wireless networks to view information or entertainment across a variety of platforms, whether it be a TV screen, a computer screen, or a portable device. He explained to us how it would work.
Motorola has a division called Home and Networks Mobility. What is it?
So our focus is around enabling these media mobility experiences. So we provide everything from infrastructure equipment for cable, home equipment for cable, video, data, voice, home equipment, and cellular infrastructure in this blended wired and wireless world of the future.
So with all that technology installed, what does the consumer get to do with it?
I think you see really three main trends happening amongst consumers these days. First is more and more video content and more high definition video content. So we've been at the forefront of driving high def, how to get better efficiency out of the bandwidth pipes, etc., so that consumers can get richer experiences in the home. The second angle is about personalization. We like to call this moving from prime time to my time. So the ability to have content on demand, have ability to have content stored in your local storage DVR in your home, and then be able to time shift it, view that content really when you want to see that content. And then the third trend really is around taking broadband beyond just a physical pipe and really making broadband go wireless over time. So, we are investing around how do you take that technology from the home out into the home, moving your video content from a DVR and the set-top out to your mobile phone, and how do you use the wireless infrastructure in its fourth generation of technologies, WiMAX LTE technologies, to really give you enough bandwidth to push video wirelessly to the consumer.
So it all sounds complicated. Is this something that's going to be done with a set-top box that a consumer will have at his or her home?
Well, I think the set-top is clearly a piece of the equation. We think it's very vital because of the rate of technology moving that the set-top is a critical element. It'll continue to evolve. Today we have high definition DVRs, next generation compression technologies, and multi-room DVRs, the ability to move that content to multiple TVs in the home. That exists today. The set-top of tomorrow then starts to give you the functionality to let you move it out into the mobile world as well. And beyond that, there's a whole lot that the consumer never sees, never feels, and hopefully never experiences of having to do a lot of work behind the scenes to make this all happen.
So in a perfect world, I'm watching a sitcom on one of your pieces of technology. I can't finish it,
Yep.
but I'm going somewhere where maybe I can. What does that mean for me?
Well, I think in the perfect world, you freeze that where you ended that, and you go out into the world to wherever your location is, to the office, and maybe in the office you want to watch it on a PC screen, or maybe you're being mobile, riding the train, and you pull it up on your mobile device. From where you left off, you now resume that content programming, stored and time shifted to meet your schedule.
So when it comes to the area of personalization, give examples of what you mean. Most people can personalize their experience currently with their video on demand services or what have you. What does this next generation mean as far as that's concerned?
I think it starts to blend in this concept of social television into it. And so I may have content that I want to watch, and I might want my friends to be watching, or at least know I'm watching it at the same time. And so maybe I can text into that content and it could appear on my friend's screen. So we're having a personalized experience while we're watching that particular program. And ultimately what it's all about is the content you want, when you want it, and where you want it.
What does this mean then for the community that is putting in broadband, for discussions here on Capitol Hill about expanding broadband in the United States? What does that mean as far as infrastructure that has to be in place in order for this technology to be used to its fullest?
Well, I think if you look today, the cable industry has spent tens of billions of dollars putting a core infrastructure in place that can enable many of these experiences. I think as we look toward the future, it's important that we here in the U.S. not fall behind in the penetration of broadband that's going on around the world, and I think all the statistics would indicate we're lagging several countries around the world. And then there's the unserved and underserved areas in the country, and really there I think is where the government can be a big help, because the economics, if you have one subscriber per mile, it's very expensive to put that infrastructure in place to serve that sub. But you don't want to leave them behind. And I think, the government being able to partner into this as part of what's being talked about here in the stimulus bill, I think is very good to enable all consumers here to get this experience.
Dan Moloney with Motorola, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
If you want to see these interviews or others we've shown over the last few weeks, go to our Communicators website. If you head to our main site, cspan.org, and click on the button marked Series, you can find an archive of these programs. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching.